Hello, it's Willie from the Ozarks, sitting here by Silver Creek in Newton County, Missouri. We're ready for Lesson 73, March the 14th, 2022. A special day of remembrance, I feel like, in this lesson. And it's, I will there be light. I will there be light. Today we are considering the will you share with God. This is not the same as the ego's idle wishes out of which darkness and nothingness arise. The will you share with God has all the power of creation in it. The ego's idle wishes are unshared and therefore have no power at all. Its wishes are not idle in the sense that they can make a world of illusions in which your belief can be very strong. They can make those idle wishes, that unconscious mind, just making ideas and thinking things, that creative consciousness. It says its wishes are not idle in the sense that they can make a world of illusions in which your belief can be very strong. But they are idle indeed in terms of creation. They make nothing that is real. Idle wishes and grievances are partners or co-makers in picturing the world you see. The wishes of the ego gave rise to it, and the ego's need for grievances, which are necessary to maintain it, peoples it with figures that seem to attack you and call for righteous judgment. They become the middlemen the ego employs to traffic in grievances and stand between your awareness and your brother's reality. Beholding them, you do not know your brothers nor yourself. By beholding your idle wishes and your grievances, you don't know yourself or your brother. Your will is lost to you in this strange bartering in which guilt is traded back and forth and grievances increase with each exchange. Can such a world have been created by the will the Son of God shares with his Father? Did God create disaster for his Son? Creation is the will of both together. Would God create a world that kills himself? Today we will try once more to reach the world that is in accordance with your will. The light is in it because it does not oppose the will of God. If it doesn't oppose the will of God, then light is in it. It is not heaven, but the light of heaven shines on it. Darkness has vanished. The ego's idle wishes have been withdrawn. The ego's idle wishes have been withdrawn. It says it's not heaven, but the light of heaven shines on it, and darkness has vanished. The ego's idle wishes have been withdrawn, yet the light which shines upon this world reflects your will, and so it must be in you that we will look for it. Your picture of the world can only mirror what is within. The source of neither light nor darkness can be found without. Grievances darken your mind, and you look out on a darkened world. Forgiveness lifts the darkness, reasserts your will, and you look out on a darkened world. Forgiveness lifts the darkness, reasserts your will, and lets you look upon a world of light. We have repeatedly emphasized that the barrier of grievances is easily passed and cannot stand between you and your salvation. The barrier of grievances. Wow, a barrier. The clouds, they're nothing. But they seem to be something. They're keeping you from knowing your reality and your brother's reality. We have repeatedly emphasized that the barrier of grievances is easily passed and cannot stand between you and your salvation. The reason is very simple. Do you really want to be in hell? That's your reason. Do you really want to be in hell? There's enough clarity now in your mind that you can see that it's really a choice between happiness and unhappiness, between heaven and hell, a judgment and a relinquishment of judgment, of an unforgiveness or a grievance, or an acceptance or an appreciation. We have repeatedly emphasized that the barrier of grievances is easily passed and you cannot stand between you and your salvation. The reason is very simple. Do you really want to be in hell? Do you really want to weep and suffer and die? Forget the ego's arguments, which seek to prove all this is really heaven. You know it is not so. You cannot want this for yourself. There is a point beyond which illusions cannot go. We finally say enough's enough. Suffering is not happiness, and it is happiness you really want. Suffering is not happiness, and it is happiness you really want. Such is your will in truth, and so salvation is your will as well. You want to succeed in what we are trying to do today. We undertake it with your blessing and your glad accord. We're not being coerced. We actually want to be happy all the time and have learned that the way to do it is to ask the Holy Spirit for guidance and not to think that we know. We know that we don't know and ask for help. And certainly relinquish judgment, grievances, and hold on to the atonement, the principle of atonement, which is through forgiveness. Recognizing what you thought your brother did to you has not even occurred. We will succeed today if you remember that you will salvation for yourself. We will succeed today if you remember that you will salvation for yourself. You will to accept God's plan because you share in it. You have no will that can really oppose it, and you do not want to do so. Salvation is for you. Happiness is for you. Life is for you. Above all else, you want the freedom to remember who you really are. Above all else, you want the freedom to remember who you really are. Today it is the ego which stands powerless before your will. Your will is free and nothing can prevail against it. Therefore, we undertake the exercises for today in happy confidence, certain that we will find what it is your will to find and remember what it is your will to remember. No idle wishes can detain us nor deceive us with an illusion of strength. An illusion of strength. No idle wishes can detain us nor deceive us with an illusion of strength. Today let your will be done, and end forever the insane belief that it is hell in place of heaven that you choose. We will begin our longer practice periods with the recognition that God's plan for salvation, and only His, is wholly in accord with your will. We will begin our longer practice periods with the recognition that God's plan for salvation, and only His, is wholly in accord with your will. It is not the purpose of an alien power thrust upon you unwillingly. It is the one purpose here on which you and your Father are in perfect accord, that your wills are one. You will succeed today. The time appointed for the release of the Son of God from hell and from all idle wishes. It is now. You will succeed today. The time appointed for the release of the Son of God from hell and from all idle wishes. What a wonderful day this is for us. His will is now restored to His awareness. His will is now restored to His awareness. He is willing this very day to look upon the light in Him and be saved. After reminding yourself of this and determining to keep your will clearly in mind, tell yourself with gentle firmness and quiet certainty, I will there be light. Let me behold the light that reflects God's will and mine. Wow, after reminding yourself of what? Well, let's back up to paragraph 11 and read it again. You will succeed today, the time appointed for the release of the Son of God from hell and from all idle wishes. Those idle wishes that are not in tune with peace, they're not even you. So we're going to let them go because we don't want to live in hell. We want to live in heaven now. You will succeed today, the time appointed for the release of the Son of God from hell and from all idle wishes. His will is now restored to His awareness. He is willing this very day to look upon the light in Him and be saved. After reminding yourself of this and determining to keep your will clearly in mind, tell yourself with gentle firmness and quiet certainty, I will there be light. I will there be light. Let me behold the light that reflects God's will and mine. Then let your will assert itself. Joined with the power of God and united with yourself, put the rest of the practice period under their guidance. Join with them as they lead the way. So in our shorter practice period, we're going to make the commitment that I will there be light, and we're going to recognize that our will is God's will, that purified, holy will that knows of peace, that knows how to use forgiveness and non-judgment and asking for help, knowing that the power of God through the Holy Spirit it always guides you, protects you, heals you, empowers you, and that's it. Your will and God's is connected in that. That is your will, is God's will in the Holy One, the Christ light. So it says, I will there be light. Let me behold the light that reflects God's will in mine. Then let your will assert itself, joined with the power of God and united with yourself. Put the rest of the practice period under their guidance. So put it underneath the guidance, your own higher mind, your Christ mind, and the Holy Spirit, and just put it into their guidance. Join with them as they lead the way. You just need to make the decision, I will there be light, and then allow that light to lead you. In the shorter practice periods, again make a declaration of what you really want. Say, I will there be light. Darkness is not my will. So we're going to say that throughout the day. This should be repeated several times an hour. I will there be light. Darkness is not my will. It is most important, however, to apply today's idea in this form immediately you are tempted to hold a grievance of any kind. This will help you let your grievances go instead of cherishing them and hiding them in darkness. Wow, we don't want to do that, do we? I encourage you to write it all in your card. I will there be light. Let me behold the light that reflects God's will in mine. Of course, that's what you'll say in your 10 or 15 minute twice a day practice period. And then settle back and just let Him show you what that means, kind of like what we did yesterday. I will there be light. Darkness is not my will. And we'll say that throughout the day. He says several times an hour. Okay, let's read just the introduction to chapter 15 in our text. And it's only a couple paragraphs long. And, while I was kind of gathering up a place to sit here, I noticed there were some onions growing just here on the side of the creek. And look, it's pretty nice wild onions, aren't they? Not, they're small, but definitely good for you. And, it is pretty much almost onion time to plant onions. And whether you're growing them for green onions or you want them for the full, bulb onion at the end of the summer, it's getting about time to plant. Some varieties will make them much sooner, and you can dig them up throughout the summer as you need them anyway. They don't have to be full grown. Onion you can pick any time that you want to eat it, and it's edible. As they get bigger, whether you're trying to grow them for the greens or whether you're trying to grow them for the bulb or for both, different varieties work better for different kinds. Well, the one I want to tell you about today is out of the Baker's Creek Seed Catalog, and it's an early American treasure. It's called the Wethersfield Red. The Wethersfield Red. Long day onion. It looks like the variety dates to the 1700s, popular from New York to Bermuda. It brought much wealth to the onion growers of New England as well as to the Yankee traders who sold shiploads of it. In 1856, Comstock Fair and Company catalog states, it is the kind mostly grown in Wethersfield. It grows to large size, deep red, thick, approaching to round shape, fine-grained, pleasant flavored, and very productive. It ripens in September and keeps well. It is slightly flattened, deep blood red onion of renowned quality, a true piece of horticultural Americana that deserves to be more widely grown. Okay, so that is your Wethersfield Red. All right. Now, the purpose of time in our text. And I wanted to mention to you, these readings, I try to read, if you read about a page a day, roughly, you'll get through the book in 2 years. And you'll do your workbook for students 2 times during that 2 years. And then the first year, I just encourage you to try to get it all figured out, understand what you're going to be doing, and try to do the best you can, but you may find that you don't do it perfectly. Well, at least get it understood what you're doing is what I encourage people to do. And then go back the second year and really give your attention to it the best you can. And you might do it 3 or 4 years. By then, you might want to just keep doing it for other people that you want to help to share this method of enlightenment. All right? So the way we're doing it right now, we're reading about a page and a quarter or whatnot a day. And we'll get finished with it this year that way, through the text. And we've already read the manual for teachers. But, if you're reading more than about a page a day, is almost too much for a lot of people. I know it is. It's not like it's too much. It's just how much are you going to retain? Because there's a lot in each paragraph. Can you imagine what it means to have no cares, no worries, no anxieties, but merely to be perfectly calm and quiet all the time? Well, that's a good question, isn't it? Can you imagine? Only imagine. Can you imagine what it means to have no cares, no worries, no anxieties, but merely to be perfectly calm and quiet all the time? Yet that is what time is for, to learn just that and nothing more. God's teacher cannot be satisfied with his teaching until it constitutes all your learning. Now let me read that to you in the way I kind of understand it. God's teacher, the Holy Spirit, cannot be satisfied with his teaching of you to you about God until his teaching constitutes all your learning. He has not fulfilled his teaching function until you have become such a consistent learner that you learn only of him. Wow, that's pretty cool. When this has happened, you will no longer need a teacher or time in which to learn. Wow. One source of perceived discouragement from which you suffer is your belief that this takes time, and that the results of the Holy Spirit's teaching are far in the future. This is not so. For the Holy Spirit uses time in his own way and is not bound by it. Time is his friend in teaching. It does not waste him as it does you. And all the waste that time seems to bring with it is due but to your identification with the ego, which uses time to support its belief in destruction. But our lesson today is, I will there be light. Darkness is not my will. I will to be one with the Holy One, with God, with the guidance of the Holy Spirit, not with my insane egotistical desires. So it does not waste him as it does you, time. And all the waste that time seems to bring with it is due but to your identification with the ego, which as of today we're going to quit doing more and more, okay? And your identification with the ego, which uses time to support its belief in destruction. The ego, like the Holy Spirit, uses time to convince you of the inevitability of the goal and end of teaching. To the ego, the goal is death, which is its end. But to the Holy Spirit, the goal is life, which has no end. Okay, well, let's follow the Holy Spirit's guidance, obviously, and which is the goal is life, which has no end. Today, be sure to tell yourself many times an hour today, I will there be light. Darkness is not my will. And be sure to take 2 15-minute periods where you sit quietly and tell yourself, identify yourself with the one will that you share with God, and tell yourself, I will there be light. In other words, you want to be a child of light. You want to acknowledge that that is your desire, your oneness with God, your will with God's will. I will there be light. Let me behold the light that reflects God's will and mine. Reflects God's will and my will. All right, so each of us can do this in our 10 to 15 minutes twice today. And then throughout the day, remember often, I will there be light. Darkness is not my will. Thank you all very much for joining me today. Be empowered and remind yourself often that your will is holy because it's God's will. And that you want to identify yourself with that light of the world, that self that you are. So often today say, and really take it to heart, I will there be light. Darkness is not my will.